The white swan is a bird that possesses pristine white feathers and powerful wings, evoking a vibrant work of art against the blue sky. It has long been an endless source of inspiration for poetry, yet it is more than just a bird. It is also a symbol of freedom, elegance, and grace, blended with aristocratic sophistication. And in the icy land of the white birch, this noble bird has been honored by lending its name to one of the greatest weapons ever created by the nation. The legend of the Tupolev Tu-160. Through the many upheavals of time, has this deadly bird shown signs of fatigue, or is it about to be reborn into a completely different version? Today, let's join Kaihuan Insights in exploring the upgraded Tu-160M to see whether the white swan still has the strength to spread its wings amidst powers threatening the nation. In a world facing both geopolitical and military turbulence, the modernization and upgrading of weapons systems have become critically important for countries to maintain their capabilities and reinforce their military strength. The centerpiece of international military attention is the supersonic strategic bomber Tu-160M. In Russia's arsenal, it was announced as the newest upgraded version of the legendary Tu-160. A bomber known internationally by the NATO reporting name Blackjack, or in Russia, the White Swan. It remains one of the largest and most powerful supersonic bombers in the world. With the ability to carry a vast payload of nuclear bombs alongside heavy weaponry, the Tu-160 has stood as a symbol of Russian military might for decades, while serving as an indispensable backbone of its air force. The first prototypes of the White Swan were conceived in the 1970s during the Soviet era, intended as a counter to the emergence of the U.S. Rockwell B-1 Lancer strategic bomber. At that time, the subsonic Tu-95 and M4 bombers could no longer penetrate NATO's air defense systems effectively. What the Soviets needed was an aircraft capable of approaching targets at near-sonic speeds, breaching enemy defenses at supersonic velocity, operating at high altitudes, or skimming close to the ground, striking, and then quickly retreating. The U.S. B-1 Lancer project was canceled in 1977. Conversely, development of the new bomber on the Soviet side continued. That same year, its design was approved by the State Commission. The first prototype was photographed by a passenger on a commercial flight at Zhukovsky Airport in November 1981, about a month before its maiden flight took place. The Soviet Union rushed this aircraft so much that they began assembly and delivered it to the Air Force even before state-level tests were fully completed, as they were determined to outpace the United States, even if it was mostly for political gain. Although at first glance the Tu-160 looked very similar to the American B-1 Lancer, in reality, these were two completely different aircraft. Specifically, the Tu-160 shared some features with the Tu-144, but used variable sweep wings, and it was not designed as a traditional bomb dropper, but rather as an airborne platform for launching strategic cruise missiles. It was larger and considerably faster than the B-1, although with a lower service ceiling, 16,000 meters compared to the B-1's 18,000 meters. While the B-1 was painted black to help absorb radar waves, the Tu-160 was painted white to resist radiation from nearby nuclear blasts. Moreover, the White Swan lacked the small forward canards that the B-1 had. As a trade-off for higher speed and greater range, the Tu-160 also had to carry much more fuel than the U.S. Air Force's B-1. The White Swan carried up to 148 tons of fuel compared to the B-1's 88.5 tons, accounting for 53.8% of its total weight. The American bomber was equipped with 4 General Electric F-101 GM-102 engines, giving it a top speed of 1,546 kilometers per hour, while the Tu-160 used 4 Kuznetsov NK-32 engines, reaching speeds up to 2,536 kilometers per hour. Officially unveiled to the public for the first time in 1989 during a military parade, the White Swan was described as the fastest and most powerful strategic bomber then in service. It set 46 world records and became an indispensable component of Russia's nuclear triad as part of its permanent air force. However, sadly, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia was left with only about 16 operational Tu-160s due to weapons reductions. While most of the aircraft ended up on Ukrainian territory, with only 6 of them remaining in active condition. For the newly independent Ukraine, separated from the Soviet motherland, maintaining and servicing such massive aircraft was simply impossible. After all, a single training flight required about 148 tons of fuel. Russia offered to buy them back for $3 billion, but Ukraine refused, claiming that the price was far too low. Kiev even considered transferring the aircraft to the United States after Washington expressed interest in purchasing 3 Tu-160s. However, Moscow immediately objected and instead agreed to cancel a $285 million gas debt in exchange for the remaining planes. As a result, the Russian Air Force was reinforced with 8 additional White Swans. Over decades of service, the Tu-160 proved its strength and influence in critical strategic situations, such as Russia's offensive in Crimea in 2014 and other military operations in Syria. Specifically, on November 17, 2015, 2 Tu-160 strategic bombers took off from Engels Air Base near Saratov, deep within Russian territory, and launched 16 Kh-101 cruise missiles against ISIS positions in Syria from a distance of up to 4,500 kilometers. This marked the first time Russia's strategic air force had launched cruise missiles in actual combat conditions. The result was decisive. All 16 Kh-101 cruise missiles struck their targets deep inside Syria, inflicting heavy losses on the militant group. The presence of the Tu-160 in the skies sent a clear message about Russia's military might, with the bomber's combat effectiveness proven in real-world scenarios. Throughout its service life, the Tu-160 has gone through multiple variants to improve flight performance and combat capabilities. Versions such as the Tu-160S and Tu-160P were developed for strategic strike and specialized attack missions, while the Tu-160R was equipped for reconnaissance and surveillance. With these variants, the aircraft has continually adapted to meet new tactical requirements and modern technical standards. However, to maintain its leading position in the realm of supersonic bombers, Russia ultimately decided to undertake a major modernization program for the Tu-160, resulting in the creation of the new Tu-160M variant. In 2015, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu declared the need to resume production of the modernized Tu-160M. In 2016, at the Kazan aircraft factory, serial production of the White Swans was reinstated. With the unveiling of the Tu-160M, Russia marked an important step forward in improving the bomber's combat capability and flight performance. The upgrades applied were not limited to technology alone, but also included integration of new weapon systems, creating a more powerful and flexible combat platform for the Russian Air Force. The result was a unique supersonic strategic missile carrier. However, the importance of upgrading the Tu-160 goes beyond combat capability. It has significant implications for the global military balance. The appearance of the Tu-160M drew special attention from neighboring countries and Russia's political rivals, while creating new challenges for maintaining regional military equilibrium. So what changes and improvements does Russia's strategic bomber bring? First, the Tu-160M received a new power plant suite, paired with the NK-32 turbofan engines. The NK-32 is a two-flow turbofan developed in the 1970s, an emblem of the advanced jet engine industry of the Soviet era. The NK-32's two-stream design optimizes performance and engine power under a wide range of operating conditions. It can operate reliably in most harsh aerodynamic environments, making it a top choice for supersonic bombers like the Tupolev Tu-160. In 2016, the Kuznetsov Design Bureau carried out a deep modernization of this engine type so that the Tu-160M can now sustain supersonic flight at about Mach 2 for 45 minutes, and its combat radius has increased by as much as 1,000 kilometers. This even surprised Western press when, in 2020, the Russian engine received praise from a U.S. aerospace and technology trade publication. Combined with fine-tuning of engine parameters, redesigns of the compressor and turbine blades, and improvements in cooling capability, this significantly increased the fuel efficiency of the turbofan engine and enabled sustained supercruise operation. That is not at all bad for an oil-rich country that, contrary to some Western propagandists' jibes, can in fact design sophisticated jet engines. Unlike the original Tu-160 version, which was designed primarily for nuclear strikes, the modernized variant is multifunctional, as demonstrated in Syria. The White Swan can carry long and medium-range cruise missiles as well as free-fall bombs, allowing it to act as Moscow's long-range hand in high-intensity conflicts. Inside the weapons bay of the Tu-160M2 there are 2 compartments dedicated to armament, each able to hold up to 6 munitions types, with the primary weapon being the nuclear-capable KH-102. These missiles incorporate stealth technologies and are designed to neutralize enemy air defense systems. In particular, they are equipped with suites to deflect incoming surface-to-air missiles, making them highly fearsome strike weapons. In addition, the Tu-160M2 is expected to be fitted with the KH-50, also referred to as KH-MD, although this has not yet been officially confirmed. Essentially, the KH-50 is more compact than the KH-101, trading some range for improved radar avoidance characteristics. Crucially, the KH-50 is much cheaper, enabling mass employment, potentially hundreds of rounds in a single strike. Research and development on the KH-SD began in the 1990s, but was suspended for several years, so information about this missile has been scarce. According to Janes, the KH-50 is about 6 meters long and weighs roughly 1,600 kilograms. Powered by a TRDD-50B turbofan, it can reach ranges in excess of 1,500 kilometers at speeds up to 950 kilometers per hour and can carry a warhead of about 450 kilograms. Alongside the missile's distinctive flat, polished cross-section, its shape meets low radar cross-section requirements while maximizing the use of volume inside the weapons bay of a heavy bomber. That means the aircraft can carry more KH-50 missiles than KH-101s. The KH-50's electro-optical digital guidance and target recognition system, called OPLIS, is quite similar to America's DSMAC. The KH-50 is about 1.5 meters shorter than the KH-101 and around 800 kilograms lighter. Yet, the missile can still carry a warhead equivalent to that of the KH-101. Moreover, the KH-50 is designed for low-altitude flight and comes equipped with advanced defensive systems, including electronic warfare capabilities and flares. These allow the missile to evade radar detection and protect itself against both air defense systems and air-to-air missiles, guided by radio frequencies and infrared seekers. As a result, the KH-50 outperforms other Russian cruise missiles in penetrating heavily defended enemy airspace. To counter the advantage of Russian strike aircraft, Western nations have transferred their best air defense systems to Ukraine. However, the KH-50 has been specifically engineered to fly through skies defended by systems such as NASAM, IRIS-T, and Patriot without being intercepted. Thirdly, the Tu-160M is equipped with modern avionics, advanced flight control systems, and improved navigation and targeting devices. Its cockpit is relatively spacious. Therefore, the revived White Swan significantly enhances the Russian Ministry of Defense's ability, both in nuclear deterrence and in employing long-range aviation during non-nuclear armed conflicts. Not long ago, there was frequent talk about systemic issues plaguing Russia's naval aviation, a genuine crisis. A shortage of aircraft and an aging fleet created major problems, especially concerning the anti-ship aviation branch. It should be noted that in 2011, Russia's naval missile aviation was completely disbanded. This force had been tasked with countering enemy aircraft carrier strike groups. As a result, all Tu-22M supersonic missile-carrying bombers of this force were transferred to the long-range aviation branch. The latest news is that in the very near future, Russia's long-range aviation will be reinforced with a considerable number of new Tu-160M strategic bombers. This, in turn, will free up the Tu-22M fleet and revive the Navy's missile-carrying aviation arm. After all, a single Tu-160M is capable of carrying up to 3 hypersonic Kinzhal missiles. When operating alongside MiG-31 supersonic fighters, and once target data is received, a single strategic missile carrier approaching its target and launching can become a real storm for a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier strike group. Although experts note that the Tu-160M will be fitted with a modernized onboard electronic suite, along with new navigation, communication, and control systems, limitations remain. The Tu-160M cannot silently approach U.S. borders, as satellites and other tracking assets would detect the bomber long before it reached striking distance. At present, the Tu-160M is also not the most powerful leg of Russia's nuclear triad, since submarines carry more missiles and pack greater destructive capability. Moreover, the White Swan is far from invulnerable. Even with its defensive countermeasures, a concentrated attack by multiple enemy fighters could overwhelm its protection, and the bomber would be destroyed. Despite its high speed, modern missiles are even faster and could intercept the Tu-160. Additionally, while Russia's relaunch of the Tu-160 program has been showcased in its media as a major achievement, the reality is that, even with new engines and digital systems, the Tu-160M essentially remains a Cold War-era design being stretched into the 21st century. Initially, it was believed that Russia would need 50 Tu-160Ms by 2035. But now, reports suggest that demand has risen to as many as 76 aircraft. According to the most conservative U.S. estimates, each Tu-160 costs about $250 million, while the total life cycle expenses per aircraft may be 3 to 5 times higher. Operating the Tu-160 is without question extremely costly. Because preparing a Tu-160 for takeoff requires up to 15 specialized vehicles, along with 3 to 4 fuel trucks, the pre-flight process can take several hours and consume more than 100 tons of fuel. As a result, it is reserved only for strikes against the most critical targets, such as U.S. territory or aircraft carriers. During these preparations, the noise level can reach as high as 150 dB, far exceeding the 45 dB threshold of disturbance. But why was the Tu-160M2 chosen over other aircraft platforms? Take the MiG-31K, for example. It can only carry a single missile, while the upgraded Tu-160 can carry around 8 warheads. That is a significant difference. With just a squadron of 4 White Swans, Russia's aerospace forces could launch a total of 32 hypersonic missiles at a target. In other words, only 4 modernized Tu-160Ms could deliver the same hypersonic strike capacity as an entire regiment of MiG-31Ks. And if, in the future, Moscow fulfills its ambition of producing new units and upgrading the entire Tu-160 fleet, the combined firepower of this force would be enough to overwhelm any adversary. In short, the Tu-160M is not only a symbol of military strength, but also plays a key role in shaping the strategic vision and regional security ambitions that Moscow seeks to pursue. Its ability to carry large payloads of both nuclear and conventional weapons, coupled with long supersonic range and high precision, makes the Tu-160M a cornerstone in Russia's military strategy. Moreover, its very presence in the skies provokes caution among rival nations, reinforcing Moscow's strategic deterrence. However, such an enhancement of power also brings challenges and risks, especially in regions of conflict and political tension. It not only creates an unstable security environment, but also raises the likelihood of escalation, as neighboring states may feel threatened and respond with an arms race. And what about you? What do you think of this aircraft in general and its upgraded version in particular? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kihuin Insights so you won't miss the latest videos. Goodbye for now, and have a wonderful day with your family.